This is truly the best thing I have ever created. Not only are revisions where your story comes to life, revisions are where you become a better writer. Period. End of story. You become a better writer by going through your work and finding what worked and what didn't. You become a better writer by looking at other people's writing and learning from it. And you become a better writer by showing up for yourself through every stage of the process. The Revision Roadmap Program is for first-time authors who have never done revisions before. So this is your step-by-step method to success. Right off the bat, love that. The Revision Roadmap Program is also for authors who have found past revision rounds rough. So this is how you kind of smooth out your process. You already have an idea, but you know that something could be better. And this is also for authors who are not getting professional edits. I understand as a professional editor that hiring a professional editor is an investment. It is not for everyone. Maybe you just don't want to, maybe you can't afford it. There's a million reasons, and this program is your next best option. Hello, welcome back to Chats and Chapters. I'm Caitlyn Howarth, book editor, lover of words, and today I'm going to break down the step-by-step process that I teach inside my Revision Roadmap program. Even if you have no interest in this program, pay attention if you are currently going through revisions or you're going to soon, because this is going to give you a solid place to start, even if you don't join the program. So if you are interested, the waitlist opens on Monday, the 16th. By joining the waitlist, you will have access first and you will get $100 off. So you can join the waitlist at the description box below or in the show notes, depending if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening on the Chats and Chapters podcast. Let me guess maybe kind of what you're going through right now. If you are currently going through revisions, maybe right now you are Googling answers for things as they pop up. And this is totally normal. It's 2026. We love Google. We love knowing things, but I'm willing to bet that you get a ton of information that is conflicting. And that makes you more confused than you were before you initially sought out answers. And this leads you to a confusion spiral. Your revisions then take forever. You end up never feeling confident about what you're doing. You're questioning everything, all of the conflicting information. And this is not the way to approach your revisions if you truly want to elevate your story. You need to follow a proven method, at least in the beginning, to get you started, and you grow and evolve as a writer, and your revision method will also evolve and grow with you. So that's 100% acceptable, okay, like don't stretch out. Not everything is going to be perfect for you, but 90% of this will be, and then you have full ability to tweak it the rest of the way for your individual needs, wants, story path, all of that good stuff. Following a system to begin with takes out the guesswork. You don't spend a bunch of time Googling. You don't have to question if it's right. You're not wondering, you're not stuck, you're not pulling your hair out, you're not procrastinating. Like, you have a system to follow, and then once you follow that system, you are able to tweak it to better fit your needs. Now that the why is out of the way of why we do revisions, why we self-edit, why it makes you a better writer, let's get into how to approach your revisions. So first, you read your first chapter. Does it have the 4 C's of an engaging first chapter? Do you have a crash? Do you have a conflict? Do you have curiosity? Do you have compelling characters? This is to get you started looking at your story with a critical eye and not the eye of the creator of the story. Because when you are writing your story, you're obviously the writer, you're the creator, you have your creative hat on, you're going through everything and you're creating it, and it's really fun. Once you hit the end of your story, you have to put a reader hat on and an editor hat on as you're going through your revisions. So this gets you started looking at your story a little bit closer under the microscope and not just as your baby that you created that you're in love with, okay? You want to be in love with it, but we have to take a step back. Next, you read your manuscript without making any edits. You can make notes, you can flag things, you can highlight things, but you do not edit the document. Instead, you write out 1 to 3 sentence summaries for each chapter on note cards so that you can see your entire story at one time. If you've been listening to my YouTube channel, following the podcast, any of that, this is what I preach. You've heard this before. In the program, I provide multiple plot grid templates that you can use instead of note cards. If you would like to keep everything online, it can be a lot easier. Some people really like writing it out, but there are, I think, 5 plot grid templates that I have within the program that you are able to 100% use. Just make a copy of the Google document, good to go. Within this step, as you are writing your notes, highlights, flagging things that you want to change, keep a list of things that you like, things that you want to stay in your story. I think authors get so stuck on the idea that revisions are only about fixing things that they messed up. They've got to redo this character or delete this character because it didn't flow right, or this scene was pointless or whatever, but you 100% did some great things, and you need to keep those elements within the story. So as you're going through this, yes, flag things you don't like, but also flag things that you do like and keep a list to make sure that those things last through all of the drafts. All right, once you have your note cards and everything and you're happy with the structure, you go through, you do all of that, you move into sentence level revisions. So this is where you focus on showing your readers instead of telling them what is happening. You rework dialogue that is clunky and unclear. You look for repeated words or echoing words. In the program, I have a section going over show versus tell and then line edit focus areas so that once again, you have everything in one place. It's in one big Google sheet. And well, it's in multiple different sheets, but it's in one file. Everyone will then swap 3 pages of their story with another author in the group to practice line editing on. I do this because it is so much easier in our brains to look at someone else's work, to look at someone else's process and think, ooh, I know a really easy way to fix that. That's super easy. It really sticks out to us. It is a lot more difficult to look at our own work, to look at our own process, our own story, and think right off the bat, what do we need to fix? If that was the case, editors wouldn't exist. I wouldn't have a job. So what I want to do is get your brain working, but get it working on someone else's story. So you'll practice on 3 pages of another author's story, and then you'll take that feedback and apply it to your own 3 pages, line edit those, and then send it to me for feedback so that you're getting multiple people's opinions, input, feedback, all of that, and you feel more confident going forward doing your line edits yourself. After you go through the module of what to look for during line editing, and then 2, practicing and doing the 3 pages on your own, and then within my feedback, seeing how to elevate it even more, you have 3 steps, 3 touch points of going through line edits. Once you are happy with the word flow and everything within your story, you want to focus on consistency. Some of this you might have picked up on because you were going through it line by line, but here we really want to look at character consistency, description consistency, physical features, your magic system, building layouts. If you bring in the main character's house in chapter 2, and they walk in and there's a foyer with a staircase to the right, and then in chapter 12, the staircase is to the left. Did they get work done? What happened to the house? So that is the kind of consistency that we want to be looking for during the next pass. This is where you learn your story inside and out and you make sure that everything is exactly how you want. Your story within the world that you created is consistent. Within the program, I encourage students to use the style sheet. I love them. I swear by them. I use them when I do copy edits on manuscripts. So if you don't want to create a full style sheet, or you plan to have an editor at this stage, which I do suggest, especially if you have like higher fantasy or series, just to keep all those details in line. If you don't want to create a full style sheet, or you plan to have an editor, at a minimum, write up character sheets for each of your main characters. Like I said, keep those details consistent throughout the story. In the program, I do provide a sample style sheet for you to reference and a place for you to add your own topics, because not every story is the same, so you might need different things than someone else. Obviously, someone having a high fantasy is going to need a place for magic system and world building specifics, where someone who has a contemporary romance is not going to need a spot for their magic system. Okay, those are all the steps, but we aren't quite there yet. From here within the program, we are going to use your first chapter analysis to inform our timeline for the rest of your revisions. So how long did it take you to read and summarize the first chapter? How many chapters do you have? If it took you 30 minutes to read and summarize chapter 1 and you have 60 chapters, that is 1,800 divided by 60 minutes is 30 hours? Yes, I think. Double check my math. I work in words, not numbers, although I did take accounting classes. So I think that's 30 hours. So what you would do, you would just do the math on how long it took you for your first chapter, how many chapters you have total, and then you get a rough idea of how long one pass is going to take you. If you're missing half of the C's that you need in your first chapter, your revisions might take a little longer to get through than someone else who has a solid first chapter and they did a complete outline so they know they did more thought in the beginning. Not that this is bad, not like you can be a pantser and your story can be great, but if they did more thought in the beginning, your revisions just might take a little bit longer than someone else who did a full outline. And that's okay. That is your process. That is the process. That's fine. Next, we will look at your strengths and weaknesses. If you do your chapter summaries and you really can't see where you would move anything around, your character arcs flow, you're happy with the scenes, every scene has a purpose, ideally 3, then you might be able to skip the developmental edit passes and just go directly into line. That is potentially the way it could go, depending on your strengths and weaknesses. And all of this informs your unique process of revisions. So you followed the system and now you're able to make tweaks to it because no writer or story is the same. I will say that until I die. That's one hill I will die on. I have a lot of hills I'll die on, but that is one of them. Once you have answers to all of these questions, you can then create your plan for revisions. So you take your first chapter analysis and your summaries, you see what you need to focus on, how many passes you might need to break it up into. If you're going through and this character might need to be deleted, your scenes are wonky, the middle is really boring, this, that, or the other, you might want to break that into multiple passes instead of trying to focus on all of the big elements within one single pass. So you take all of this information, how many passes you might need to break it into, where you should start based on your strengths and your weaknesses. And in the program, there's a final sheet of your roadmap that has it broken down by task, priority, start and end dates, and then a place for notes if you want to leave yourself some notes. That's the process, but don't forget, you have to bring your life into the equation. This is one of the main reasons why I turned this in from a course into a program that has support where I'm with you every step of the way, because you have to bring your life into the equations. I don't want you to, you can 100% take this episode, take this YouTube video, create your plan, go through all of these steps, but add your life into it, because I don't want you to build this plan and then be unable to follow it and feel like a failure because of it, because that isn't you. That just means you need to revise your plan. So look at it from realistically, how many hours can you work on your revisions a day or a week? If you're looking at 30 hours for one pass for you to go through and do your chapter summaries, do all of that, and then to kind of like piece it together, you're looking at 6 weeks. If you can do 5 hours, one in a week, you're looking at 6 weeks to get through those 30 hours to figure out where you go from there. So you have to, I know you want to push. I know that it's really time consuming, this, that, and the other, but you have to be able to take your life into account, look at your story objectively, and go through the process and really give it the best that you can. Whew. Okay, yes, that was a lot. Yes, it's gonna take you a little bit to get everything set up, but taking that chunk of time up front, really setting yourself up for success, will save you hours and hours and hours as you go through your revisions. Now, Will you set this up and then like never have to change anything? No, you will always have to probably go back in and make like small tweaks, small iterations, but the main plan will stay the same because you have gone through the process. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, you know where to start, you know what you need to work on, focus on, how to move things around. And that is the gold, because you're not going into every pass clueless. That is what this program delivers. If all of this sounds great and you feel like you could use a bit of help, this is why I created the Revision Roadmap program. I walk you through this system over 10 weeks, and I'm there every step of the way to answer your questions. So like I was saying, not only do you have me, but you have a group of writers going through exactly what you're going through to bounce ideas off of. With the page swaps for the line edits, like you're gonna be working alongside each other, collaborating throughout the 10 weeks. You have the first chapter summary discussion, the line editing, page swap, and every week I am going to include, little opportunities to chat and learn from each other, because I really feel like, obviously, writing a book, finishing a book is a huge accomplishment, and so many writers do it by themselves, because you're just in your head. And this is your opportunity to really connect with other writers and get their feedback, talk to an editor. I'll be there, have the discussions, the questions, and just not go through everything by yourself. I'm so stinking excited. Okay, this program is everything. It's everything. A community of authors coming together, a step-by-step process that you can follow for your current manuscript, and then you can copy it and you can use it for all the ones after that. This is your ability to ask me, a book editor, questions throughout the process. If you are struggling with something specifically, we can work through that. There are resources that you can use to elevate your story, and you can use those to plan out your next story. There's 2 calls with me to make sure that you're on track and you feel confident with how everything is going and with your plan. And like I said at the beginning, this is truly the best thing I've created. Doing your self-edits are so important. They're so important, 1, for you to become a better writer. 2, if you are planning on getting a professional editor, going through these self-edits and having a solid plan and doing a really good job is going to make professional editing cheaper. I love editing so much, and I just want to share a little bit of my love of it to the writers and the authors that try so hard to write their stories and then get to the revision process and absolutely hate it. I don't want you to hate it. I want to show you a solid process. The waitlist opens on Monday, March 16th. Like I said, you have first access. If you're on the waitlist, you get $100 off. You can join the waitlist in the description box, in the show notes below. Spots are limited due to the support provided. Because everyone is getting 2 calls, I'm not accepting a ton of people. Please, if you have any questions, leave a comment below, or you can shoot me an email and I'd be happy to see if this program is right for you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode/video from Chats and Chapters. I am Caitlyn. Follow along, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I cannot wait to see you inside the Revision Roadmap program.